Hello, everyone. I've got an insane case to go over with you today. History is full of instances where mass shooters have made the news and struck fear in people. Most of these incidents are only one day events in single locations, often with multiple victims. However, in this case, the two killers canvassed the DC metropolitan area, randomly shooting people as the opportunities presented themselves. With that being said, let's get right into it. It was during the month of October in 2002 when a series of shootings rocked the Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland, and Washington, D.C. metro area. What was most disturbing was the wide area covered during the crime spree and the apparent random nature of the shootings. There did not seem to be a common denominator linking the victims together, but there was a prior history and a diabolical motive that led to these events. People all over the United States would become acquainted with the names of John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo as a result of their arrest for a shooting spree that made international headlines. However, most people who followed these events do not know their murderous activity started much earlier that year. Information would come out later after they were arrested and charged for killing 10 people and wounding 3 in the Washington, D.C. area. John Allen Muhammad was born John Allen Williams on December 31st, 1960, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In August 1978, Muhammad enlisted in the Louisiana Army National Guard as a combat engineer and transferred to the regular Army on November 6, 1985, and was trained as a mechanic, truck driver, and specialist metal worker. He changed his surname in 2001, long after joining the Nation of Islam in 1987, and was a follower of Louis Farrakhan, providing security during the Million Man March. His father and mother were Ernest and Eva Williams. The family moved to New Orleans when his mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. She died when he was only 3 years old, and his father abandoned the family, leaving John to be raised by his maternal grandfather and his aunt. Muhammad had served in the Army, was divorced twice, and his second ex wife, Mildred Muhammad, was granted a restraining order alleging abuse. Muhammad was arrested on federal charges after violating that restraining order for possessing a weapon. They had 3 children together, but he lost custody of them after their divorce in 1999. So he ended up kidnapping his own children, took them to Antigua, and was subsequently wanted for credit card and immigration documentation fraud. At that time, he became close with Lee Boyd Malvo, a Jamaican child who later acted as his partner in the killing spree they would go on in the future. Lee Boyd Malvo also went by the name John Lee Malvo and previously lived with Muhammad in his duplex in Tacoma, Washington for about a year. The first killing was on February 16, 2002, when Kenya Cook, 21, was shot in East Tacoma, Washington. Her aunt was a friend of Muhammad's ex-wife, but she was shot by Malvo. After their arrest, Malvo confessed to the murder, stating that Muhammad told him to do it. In 2004, Washington State decided not to press charges against Malvo because Cook's killing, quote, did not include the aggravating factors, end quote, that would lead to sentencing beyond that already imposed in Virginia. The second killing was on March 19, 2002, when 60-year-old Jerry Taylor was killed on a golf course in Tucson, Arizona. Malvo confessed to the murder to Tucson police in October 2006 and was given immunity from prosecution. On August 1st, 2002, in Hammond, Louisiana, Malvo shot 58-year-old John Guetta in the neck with a .22 caliber revolver. Guetta was badly wounded but survived. Ironically, he received a letter of apology from Malvo in 2010. On September 5th, 2002, Malvo shot Paul LaRufa 5 times outside his restaurant in Clinton, Maryland. LaRufa miraculously survived and would go on to testify in the Virginia trial, supporting Muhammad's resentencing to life with the possibility of parole. On September 14, 2002, 22-year-old Rupinder Benny Oberoi was shot and wounded outside the Hillendale Beer and Wine liquor store in Silver Spring, Maryland. CNN reported the shooting was linked by circumstances, witnesses, and location of the alleged snipers, but not by ballistics. The following month of November 2002, Montgomery County Police Captain Nancy Demi stated they, quote, officially linked Oberoi's shooting to the other sniper shootings, end quote. On September 15, 2002, Muhammad Rashid was shot at a liquor store in Brandywine, Maryland, and survived. Rashid, who had a clear view of his shooter, later testified in court and identified Malvo as the shooter. Then on September 21st, 2002, 41-year-old Millian Voldemariam was shot 3 times outside a liquor store in Atlanta and died of his wounds. Ballistics matched the .22 caliber handgun to both the Atlanta and the Montgomery County, Maryland shootings. No charges were ever brought by Georgia. On September 21st, 2002, liquor store owner Claudine Parker was killed and clerk Kelly Adams was seriously wounded in Montgomery, Alabama. The ballistics matched the Bushmaster 223 connected to later shootings, and the various eyewitnesses also connected Muhammad and Malvo to the crime. Capital murder charges were filed against both Muhammad and Malvo after police in Montgomery, Alabama confirmed that fingerprints recovered matched Malvo's U.S. Immigration and Naturalization Service card. However, due to the charges pending in Virginia and the fact there was a death sentence requested, Alabama also decided not to prosecute Muhammad or Malvo. On September 23, 2002, Muhammad and Malvo killed 45-year-old Hung Ballinger outside a beauty shop in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Both were charged with capital murder and armed robbery on October 31st after the ballistics examination matched the same Bushmaster 223 rifles. Louisiana also declined to prosecute Muhammad or Malvo due to the trial pending in Virginia. 3 days later, on September 26, 2002, Wright Williams Jr. was shot and wounded at his grocery store in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Muhammad and Malvo were not charged for a shooting either due to the charges they were already facing, but the incident was later used to prove similar circumstances in Muhammad's trial. Muhammad and Malvo returned to the D.C. area, and on October 2, 2002, one of the two fired a shot through a window at Michael's craft store in Aspen Hill, Maryland, but no one was injured. Later that same day, 55-year-old James D. Martin, a program analyst for the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, was killed in the parking lot of Shoppers Food Warehouse in Wheaton, Maryland. The next day, on October 3, 2002, 39-year-old landscaper James L. Buchanan was killed while mowing a lawn at a local business near Rockville, Maryland. Then, on the same day, cab driver 54-year-old Prem Kumar Walakar was killed at a gas station in the Aspen Hill area of Montgomery County, Maryland. Once again, on the same day, 34-year-old Sarah Ramos of Silver Spring, Maryland, was killed at the post office near the Leisure World Shopping Center. A witness reported seeing a white van or truck leave the parking lot after that particular shooting, which directed police to be on the lookout for the wrong vehicle. Also, on October 3, 2002, 25-year-old Lori Ann Lewis Rivera of Silver Spring, Maryland, was killed at a Shell gas station in Kensington.
You know, calls from all over the world have poured into the Montgomery County Police Department, people wondering if their loved ones are victims. You just heard from Chief Charles Moose. The notification of families has just been completed. Names are now being released as well. Let's go to Fox 5's Karen Gray Houston. She's learning more about those people who lost their lives, continuing our team coverage. Karen?
Well, Brian, we're at the scene where one of the victims was gunned down here outside the Fitzgerald Auto Mall in Rockville. As you can see over here, somebody's already brought flowers to the site. We should tell you police are still trying to notify the families of some of the victims, so we can't tell you all of their names. Here's what we do know about the shooting victims. James Martin, 55 years old, was shot last night at the Shoppers Food Warehouse. James Sonny Buchanan, believed to be in his late 30s or early 40s, killed behind the Fitzgerald Auto Mall here in Rockville this morning. A black male in his 40s killed on Aspen Hill Road at the Mobil gas station. Hispanic female in her 40s shot to death outside the post office near Leisure World in Silver Spring. And a white female in her 40s killed at the Shell gas station this morning in Kensington. We are back here live in Rockville. The man who was gunned down here around 7:41 this morning was gunned down right behind the Fitzgerald Auto Mall. He was cutting this small strip of grass over here when he was shot. It's not a lot of grass to cut, and Sonny Buchanan was not just some guy who mows lawns. Dottie Fitzgerald, who's president of the Fitzgerald Auto Mall, says Sonny owned a landscape design company based in Rockville, but really lived in Blacksburg, Virginia.
You know, he made a commitment to us to do this year. He's really moved from here. And we found out that he was driving up here on the weekends in the middle of the night and sleep in the truck for an hour or so until daylight and then cut the grass. Now, you know, a lot of people would have said to you, I'm real sorry I've moved and you're going to need to get somebody else. But when that man gave you his commitment, he kept it.
And she says he was a dedicated civil servant who gave back to the community. He was once on the board of the Montgomery County Boys and Girls Club and the Board of Crime Solvers.
He was just a good human being. He did so much with the kids in this county. with the Crime Solvers and with the Boys and Girls Club. He taught them so much about, I'm sorry.
It's ironic that he was killed basically a block away from where he gave so much of his time selling Christmas trees for the kids.
So sad.
We miss him. The calls are coming in. The parents are on the phone crying. I mean, literally, Sonny was like a staff person there, but he was a volunteer.
Fitzgerald employees initially thought Buchanan was injured in some kind of lawn mowing accident, but quickly learned he'd been shot. Somebody tried unsuccessfully to administer CPR.
Nobody really knows right now. You don't know if it's an act of terrorism or if it's just somebody that's some nut out there running around shooting people. So it is kind of scary.
There's going to be a candlelight vigil for all of the victims on Monday night. The Victims' Rights Foundation is going to hold it at 6 o'clock Monday outside the offices of the Montgomery County Council building. We're live in Rockville. Karen Gray, Houston, Fox 5 News. Back to you.
Stories like that we all need to hear at this time, see how important these people are. Karen, thank you so much for that.
Unbelievably, again on the same day, 72-year-old Pascal Charlotte was shot in the chest while walking along Georgia Avenue. An hour after he was shot, he unfortunately passed away from his wounds in the hospital. Muhammad and Malvo would take a break and lay low for the rest of the day after that. On October 4th, 2002, both shooters were seen camping out in a Michaels parking lot in Fredericksburg, Virginia, where they shot 43-year-old Caroline Sewell as she placed her bags inside her Toyota minivan. She survived and was released from the hospital on October 14th.
All right, Dee, thanks so much. Now, moving on to the investigation and the search for a killer in Montgomery County and the shooting spree there. Police have just wrapped up a news conference at their headquarters in Rockville. Fox 5's Paul Wagner joins us there live with the latest developments. Paul.
Well, Tracy, let me touch a little bit on Spotsylvania. Chief Moose did say he was aware of it. As Dee just mentioned, they are sending investigators down there, but he doesn't have any other information on that. He will hold another press briefing here at 6 o'clock tonight. Perhaps they'll have some more information. Now, there are a number of questions tonight about a shooting that took place on Georgia Avenue last night in the district and whether or not that is connected with the 5 murders here in Montgomery County. We can tell you this, that D.C. police have been able to find shell fragments, bullet fragments from that murder, and those fragments were initially being taken to the D.C. Police Ballistics Lab. However, we've just been told that those fragments are now on their way here to Rockville to the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Lab, which is just down the street. Now, here's the reason why police are so interested in this case. There are a number of similarities that John Henriham will be getting into a little bit later in this broadcast. But we are told now by ATF that if the fragments that are given to them are large enough, they will be able to tell whether or not it's the same ammunition that was used in these shootings here in Montgomery County. Now let me get on a little bit to the white truck. All day long you can hear on all of the police radios a continuous search all around the Washington area for these white Isuzu or Mitsubishi style trucks. Now, another question came up to Chief Moose today. Because you only had one witness that saw this truck, are you perhaps getting a little bit concerned that maybe this truck wasn't involved? This is what Chief Moose had to say about that.
We still think it has something to do with our case. I'll remind you, if it didn't, then I certainly wonder why that truck hasn't driven up here to headquarters and had the people driving it explain why they were at the scene that day and let us clear them and clear their name and clear their truck. So since I don't have that truck, I can only assume there's a reason, and we're going to continue to look for it.
Now, in fact, Chief Moose did say that they have talked with the witness again, have fine-tuned the description of that truck, and that description now in the last couple of hours going out in all points bulletins to police officers out in the field. That's the latest here from the briefing headquarters. I'm Paul Wagner. Back into you.
All right, Paul, we appreciate that update. Police, by the way, are saturating certain sections of Montgomery County with undercover police officers, surveillance, and additional resources in marked cars as long as the shooter remains out there on the loose. Brian?
Find the gun, you'll find the gunman. Police are narrowing the scope on the type of gun used to help close in on this sniper. They're hoping that if they find the weapon used, it may reveal information about who this heartless person is. Let's go to Fox 5's Bob Barnard. He spoke with an ATF agent working the case and brings us up to date from Rockville. Bob?
Well, Brian, federal agents are helping police try to pinpoint the exact type of weapon and ammunition used by the killer sniper. ATF agents and lab technicians here in Rockville believe the gunman is using a high-powered rifle loaded with high-velocity bullets. Federal firearms investigators this morning brought out several high-powered rifles, the type of which investigators believe the sniper killer is using.
Certainly at this point, I have no indicator of two weapons. And my experience would say that you got a driver, you got a shooter.
A gunman who appears to be using high-velocity but small-caliber ammunition.
What this is a .223 caliber ammunition round. Essentially, it's a .22 caliber projectile.
Investigators are not saying whether they've recovered any shell casings or are just relying on fragments of bullets taken from the victims or crime scenes.
So we're not trying to say that these are specifically the firearms. It's to say anybody that has firearms similar to these, anybody that you've seen with ammunition similar to this, if you have any information of anybody acting strangely, missing, that owns these, that the guns are missing, to call the hotline. Again, this particular firearm is a Colt AR-15.
ATF agent Joseph Reel says these types of high-powered rifles and ammunition can be purchased at gun shows and are sold at gun stores. What kind of person would he suspect is behind the killings?
It could be someone who has military background. It could be somebody who is a gun enthusiast, who has done a lot of research, who just is fascinated with this particular type of firearm, rounds, things like that. So it runs the gamut. It would be very hard to pinpoint down and say this is the type of person.
Now, Chief Moose says in the hours since those weapons were displayed before the TV cameras this morning, calls to the hotline here have spiked considerably. But, Brian, so far, no leads that have led to an arrest.
All right, Bob Barnard's seeing those guns. Maybe that'll help spark somebody's recollection of this. The ATF is conducting tests on all the bullet fragments at its crime lab in Rockville.
Then, on October 7, 2002, 13-year-old Iron Brown was shot in the chest outside his school, Benjamin Tasker Middle School in Bowie, Maryland. He survived and later testified at Muhammad's trial. 2 days later, on October 9, 2002, a tarot death card was discovered near the scene of the shooting at the school with the message, "Call me God," written on it. That same day, not long after the tarot card was found, 53-year-old Dean Harold Myers was killed at a gas station in Manassas, Virginia. Witnesses again described a white minivan being in the area, which was stopped by the police, but the driver and the vehicle were cleared of any suspicion.
We have breaking news right now. If you've been with us, then you know hundreds of police are looking for a sharpshooter who has struck again. His latest victim, a 13-year-old boy, is in critical condition, fighting for his life. And here is where it all started. Kids at Benjamin Tasker Middle School in Bowie, Maryland, were ushered inside this morning after that boy was shot, just moments after he had been dropped off. Police spread out, going door to door, trying to find any possible witnesses. Today's shooting and its young victim are touching people in a brand new way, even bringing a police chief to tears.
But stepping over the line, shooting a kid, I guess it's getting to be really, really personal now.
Today's school shooting has now been linked with ballistics to the 6 shootings in Montgomery County, the one killing in D.C., and the shooting of a woman in Fredericksburg, Virginia. We have team coverage this evening, beginning with Fox 5's Bob Barnard live at Benjamin Tasker Middle School, where it all began. Bob.
Well, Tracy, you get the sense that Chief Moose knew before all we did that the killer was here again. His last 2 victims, the 7th and 8th victims, surviving his shots, but he took the weekend off and came to school on a Monday morning. He was here. We've got videotape to show you of the chaos outside Benjamin Tasker Middle School this morning. The shot fired at 8:09 this morning. There was utter chaos here because you had parents coming to the school wanting to get their kids out. Many did take them out throughout the day, and they didn't know. They suspected that perhaps this was the work of the same sniper killer, but they did not know until just now. School went on not as usual, but they kept all the students in their same first period classrooms throughout the day. Not a whole lot of work was done. What happened with the student was he was being dropped off here by his aunt just after 8 o'clock this morning. He got out of the car. The aunt apparently started to drive off, heard a gunshot, and turned around and saw her nephew leaning over. She got out of the car, and he was able to tell her that he believed he had been shot. She then put him in her car. She, being a nurse, drove him to Bowie Health Center. And from there, he was then airlifted to Children's Hospital. We spoke to some parents and students at the time this morning, and understandably, they were very upset.
I was worried because this never happened like this before at my school, and I was worried because I ain't wanted to die like that.
I don't know what this girl was the world coming to, and this shooting in broad daylight, this 13-year-old boy that got shot. I mean, it's just crazy. And I was just concerned about my son, you know. I'm glad he's so safe, you know, and pray that the young guy that got shot, hopefully he make it, you know, and he's in our prayers.
Now, a little before 3 o'clock this afternoon, a couple of ride-on buses from Montgomery County brought in 80 Montgomery County police recruits. They are now going through the schoolyard. They are also in the neighborhood across the street. They are looking for any kind of forensic evidence, shell casings, perhaps a cigarette butt, anything that the killer may have left behind. Although police now know he was here, they just don't know from where here he took the shot. And they sure want to stop him before he fires again. Back to you.
Indeed they do, Bob. Thanks so much.
On October 11, 2002, 53-year-old Kenneth Bridges from Philadelphia was killed at an Exxon station just off I-95 near Fredericksburg, Virginia. Due to more witnesses seeing a white van with a ladder rack on the roof, the police created a huge roadblock trying to find a Chevy Astro-type vehicle.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for staying up with us tonight. I'm Tracy Neal.
And I'm Will Thomas, in for Brian Bolter. Tonight, a massive manhunt. Fears grow, and for another night, the serial sniper remains on the loose. Take a look at the face of the man who has become the sniper's latest victim, a father of 6 from the Philadelphia area, an Ivy League school grad who was killed at a gas station in Spotsylvania County. As you just heard, Fox 5 has learned tonight, ballistics testing officially connects the case to the killing spree. Right after this morning's shooting, local, state, and federal law enforcement sprung into action. They fanned out throughout the area to catch the killer. Traffic on portions of Interstate 95 came to a halt as officers search for the potential getaway van. Our reporters are following this story around the clock. Tonight, our team coverage begins with Fox 5's Maureen Ume in Spotsylvania County.
"9:30 Friday morning, another shooting, another gas station, another innocent victim dead. A father of 6 from Philadelphia. He had stopped at this Exxon gas station in Spotsylvania County to fill his tank.
Obviously, with a uniformed trooper directly across the street, obviously we're dealing with an individual that's extremely violent and obviously doesn't care.
And someone extremely brazen. Police don't know if this shooting is connected to the other sniper attacks, but this one happened just 50 yards from a state police officer investigating an accident. Police say he did not see anything, but some witnesses did. They describe a white van with a ladder top leaving the area shortly after the shooting. Some say a woman was behind the wheel.
And we're not certain if that van had anything to do with the shooting, but we do have a description of the people that were inside the van.
Searching for evidence, roads were closed, nearby businesses too. At times, marshals went door to door looking for witnesses who may have seen something.
I was just absolutely horrified, am horrified at what's happened here. This is something that has obviously put all of us here in the Washington metropolitan area on edge.
No shrub, no stone was left unturned. Police set up a large perimeter, calling in helicopters and bloodhounds.
We do have evidence. The evidence that we have has been collected. It's been turned over to ATF.
Hours after the shooting, the fear, the uncertainty, the tension remains high.
It's like living with terrorists, you know? You never know when the next one's going to hit. It's frightening.
That was Fox 5's Maureen Ume reporting. We can tell you family and friends of this latest victim, Kenneth Bridges, were speaking out tonight. He was an educated, successful man whose life was tragically cut short. His Philadelphia-based family asked for your help in bringing the killer to justice.
The Bridges family hopes that this killer is brought to justice as quickly as possible and ask if anyone has any information to be sure to contact the FBI and the local authorities to put an end to these horrendous acts.
Mr. Bridges ran a marketing firm in Philadelphia and was on his way home from a business trip when he was killed. Tracy?
On October 14, 2002, 47-year-old Linda Franklin of Arlington, Virginia, was killed in a Home Depot parking lot in Falls Church, Virginia. On October 19, 2002, 37-year-old Jeffrey Hopper was shot in a parking lot of a Ponderosa Steakhouse near I-95 in Ashland, Virginia. Hopper survived after doctors removed the bullet. On October 21st, ballistics confirmed it was the same weapon used in the other prior shootings.
Well, the town of Ashland is now a community in fear. They haven't seen a shooting since February, so the possibility of a serial killer in their midst is incomprehensible. Our team coverage continues with a look at how this small community is dealing with a local tragedy and the national spotlight. Fox 5's Maureen Ume has more from Ashland.
It's a headline people who live around here never thought they'd see, Ashland shooting. But this is the reality setting in one day after a man was shot as he left this restaurant.
It's a very small, conservative town.
Like most of the other shooting sites, Ashland, Virginia is located off a major interstate.
The town is mostly made up of the travelers.
But unlike the other places, it's a small, close-knit community of about 6,000 people.
We come up to Ashland real often to eat and shop in the stores because it's convenient.
And far removed from the hustle of a big city and many thought big city crime, until now.
And we just thought, oh, it'll never happen down where we live.
A shooting at a popular town steakhouse. On any other day, the lots around the restaurants and other eateries would be full and businesses bustling. Now these favorite stops for I-95 travelers are largely empty. Customers replaced by a crush of media crews reporting on this latest shooting.
It's quite a scene. I mean, it's to be expected, I guess.
It's really been surprising, the breadth of this sniper's, where he's going and what he's doing.
But as concern and fear begins to take hold in Ashland, for some, the shooting is having another effect.
Well, it seems to affect it in a positive way, because smokers are nervous people and they're coming in and getting more cigarettes.
It wasn't a total shock. I had suspicions that it might come closer to home.
Resignation to a new reality that's now changed yet another community. In Ashland, Virginia, Maureen Ume, Fox 5 News.
After nearly a week of laying low, Muhammad and Malvo went right back to work. And on October 22, 2002, bus driver 35-year-old Conrad Johnson of Oxon Hill, Maryland, was shot when he reached the top step inside his commuter vehicle in Aspen Hill, Maryland. He would sadly pass away due to his injuries at a hospital in Bethesda, Maryland.
Moving on to developments in the sniper investigation itself. Fox 5's Bob Barnard begins our team coverage live from police headquarters in Rockville. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Tracy. Ballistics tests performed here in Rockville confirm yesterday's murder was yet another sniper shooting. The elusive gunman has now killed 10 people and wounded 3 others. And as far as we know, police this afternoon are no closer to catching the killer. A small memorial of flowers and burning candles marks the spot along Grand Prix Road in Aspen Hill where Conrad Johnson, a Montgomery County ride-on bus driver and father of 2, was shot and killed by the serial sniper Tuesday morning.
I just get very discouraged. It doesn't sound like they're very close to catching him.
Police believe the sniper was perched in these woods. Branches of bushes cut by investigators still litter the ground where another note from the killer was found. Police also say they want to hear from witnesses who may have information about Tuesday morning's shooting, but are afraid to come forward because they may be in the country illegally.
Montgomery County police officers do not have any authority or authorization to enforce immigration laws, and we want to talk to them about this crime.
Prince William County police say they are also looking for additional witnesses to the shooting at this Manassas gas station 2 weeks ago.
We also are looking for anyone who might have been driving a white van in the area at that time. We've gotten several reports of a white van being seen in the area. We've checked out a lot of them, but there are still a few that we have not been able to track down.
All around the region, schoolyards remain empty, police working overtime to protect children kept inside classrooms, a palpable fear gripping the community.
It's not that I am afraid to go out, but if you don't know where it's coming from, it's a weird feeling.
Federal and local police are trying to offer words of encouragement about their search for the sniper.
All the leads that come in, we follow those up every day and we eliminate potential suspects. So progress is made every day, and it just puts us one step closer. Thank you.
And Chief Moose promises he will not bargain away one life in any attempt to communicate secretly with the killer.
This investigation, as all criminal investigations, are very important to us and all people in our profession. But let me just be real clear that public safety comes before any investigation.
Now, we're learning more this afternoon about what the killer has apparently requested of police in the letter that was found at one of the murder scenes. Fox News is reporting that the killer asked the police, in fact, demanded the police electronically transfer $10 million to a credit card account. That the killer provided police with a credit card number and a PIN number, but the credit card came back stolen, and so police either will not or cannot do what the killer has asked them to do. And Tracy, Fox News is also reporting that the killer says if his demands are not met, police will need body bags. And that's a quote.
Finally, on October 24, 2002, John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo were found sleeping in Muhammad's blue 1990 Chevy Caprice at a rest stop in Frederick County, Maryland, and were promptly arrested. He had purchased the former police car in New Jersey on September 11, 2002.
A lot has happened in just the past 24 hours as the sniper manhunt literally went nationwide. It began with a task force phone tip from someone claiming responsibility for the sniper killings and a September shooting in Alabama.
So investigators headed to Montgomery, where they recovered a fingerprint from the shooting scene, a neighborhood liquor store. That fingerprint belonged to 17-year-old Lee Malvo.
Now, detectives quickly traced Malvo to a home in Tacoma, Washington, where he had lived with 41-year-old John Allen Muhammad. Investigators carefully searched the home early last night, removing a tree stump with bullet fragments in it.
The result, a midnight news conference. Montgomery County Police releasing a picture of a wanted man, John Allen Muhammad, as well as a description of a car.
A citizen spotted that car at a rest stop in Myersville, Maryland, just 60 minutes later. Inside, Muhammad and Malvo. An emergency response team took him into custody without incident.
We have team coverage tonight from one coast to the other. We begin with Fox 5's Bob Barnard live at police headquarters in Rockville. What a day, Bob.
Incredible day, Tracy. We're still waiting to hear from Chief Moose. In fact, he hasn't said anything publicly about this morning's arrest. Police are obviously waiting for test results to come back on the rifle that was found in the car that the father and stepson were in, to see whether if the test on that rifle matches with all the different sniper attacks. Under police escort and hidden inside this white trailer, the car from which a 3-week-long killing spree may have been plotted and carried out. Inside the blue 1990 Chevy Caprice, police and federal agents recovered a Bushmaster rifle that fires 223 rounds and also seized a scope and tripod. Todd Easterday witnessed the search.
They were taking each thing out of the car, and somebody was cataloging it. One of the boxes was a real long box. Like, I'm not saying a gun came in it, but it looked like a box that you buy a gun in.
Arrested without incident around 3 o'clock this morning, 42-year-old John Allen Muhammad, also known as John Allen Williams, and his 17-year-old stepson Lee Malvo. The pair found sleeping inside their car by a motorist who stopped at this I-70 rest stop west of Frederick, just an hour after Muhammad, Malvo, and their car were identified by police. What do you think of the fact that this may be over?
Oh, I hope it is. I really do. I really hope for people's peace of mind.
The rest stop just outside Myersville and the parking space where the suspect's car was parked, an immediate tourist attraction.
Just had to have a look, I guess, so drive by to see it.
Maryland State Police cadets on their hands and knees helped investigators look for other evidence at the rest stop. The car, with the world watching, taken to a secure location in Gaithersburg for further examination. And now 2 men, whose names and faces we'd never seen or heard before, may forever be known as 2 people who instilled fear in a community of more than 2 million. 14 shots, 13 hits, 10 killed. Their car was spotted around 1 in the morning, just about an hour after Chief Moose came before the cameras last night around midnight. But the men weren't taken into custody until a little after 3:30, and that is because after Maryland State Police came to confirm that it was their car, they put a perimeter around the rest stop. They called the task force. They mobilized SWAT teams. They got up there. They woke up Muhammad and Malvo and put them under arrest. Tracy, back to you.
All right, Bob, thanks so much. You know, we have watched as police have pulled over dozens of white vans and trucks over the past 3 weeks. Well, today, ironically, it was the driver of a white truck who spotted Mohammed's car at that Maryland rest stop and called police, and then blocked the exit of the rest stop with his truck.
I'm no hero. I just want people to think what I did was what I should have done. I'm no hero at this, no hero whatsoever. I don't even want to even be thinking of a hero. I just want everybody to tell me thanks and walk away and forget about it.
The driver, by the way, had a prayer meeting with dozens of fellow truck drivers praying that the sniper would be caught.
Mohammed admitted to police that he admired Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda and that he had approved of the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. Malvo told police that Mohammed planned on making money by eventually establishing a children's terrorist training camp in Canada. It appeared that all the killings were a ruse to deflect from Mohammed's real ambition of eventually killing Mildred, his ex-wife, to get custody of his 3 children. Prosecutors said the shootings were part of a plot to extort $10 million from local and state governments. According to the Seattle Times, the prosecution called more than 130 witnesses and introduced more than 400 pieces of evidence intended to prove that Mohammed undertook the murders and ordered Malvo to help carry it all out. Evidence included a rifle found in Mohammed's car that was linked by ballistics tests to 8 of the 10 killings in the Washington area and 2 others in Louisiana and Alabama. The car, which was modified so that a sniper could shoot from inside the trunk, and a laptop computer that was also found in the car that contained maps with icons pinpointing shooting destinations. Witness accounts put Mohammed across the street from one shooting and his car near the scene of several others. There was also a recorded phone call to a police hotline in which a man's voice, identified by a detective as Mohammed's, demanded money in exchange for the shootings to end. Both men were arraigned, and Malvo was charged as an adult. John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo were both convicted, and Muhammad received a death sentence. During his own trial, Malvo said he lied when he claimed to be the shooter in all the shootings. In an attempt to save Muhammad from the death penalty, he believed that he would not face the death penalty, considering he was a minor at that time. In 2 days of testimony, Malvo outlined detailed aspects of all the shootings, was convicted, and received several life sentences without the possibility of parole in both Maryland and Virginia. At that time, under Virginia law, a defendant convicted of capital murder was allowed to choose the method by which he or she would be put to death, with the option of either lethal injection or electrocution. Muhammad declined to choose one of the 2 options, so the method of lethal injection was selected for him. He was offered a last meal of his choice, which he accepted. Muhammad's last meal consisted of chicken with red sauce and cake.
Paul LaRufa had just locked up his restaurant and climbed into this car to head home.
The window exploded onto me and the flash of light and shots came in.
5 shots, point-blank range.
Where were you hit? I was hit through this arm. I was hit in the chest, the stomach, the diaphragm, and my spine.
The shooter left LaRufa for dead, stealing his computer and $3,500, money that would be used to finance the coming carnage.
We got something that sounded like a gunshot.
1 month later, October 3rd, 2002, suburban Washington exploded.
A man is being killed in front of me. A man just fell in the parking lot.
There's a lady, she's not moving.
4 people shot execution style in broad daylight, each killed by a single sniper round.
We weren't sure if it was a terrorist style attack. We weren't sure how many shooters we had out there.
Assistant Chief Drew Tracy led the SWAT team response.
People were terrified. People were ducking behind cars and people not going to work and some children not going to schools.
Over the next 3 weeks, 6 more people were gunned down and 2 others, including a middle school student, were wounded before police finally identified the snipers and cornered them at a Maryland rest stop. Chief Tracy vividly recalls the takedown of John Allen Muhammad and his teenage partner, Lee Boyd Malvo.
I walked over towards Muhammad, and when I looked at him, he had a look about him that was just pure evil.
Muhammad and Malvo were both convicted of murder. Malvo is serving life in prison without parole. Muhammad faces execution tonight.
Does it matter to you if he's put to death? Does that matter?
In this situation, yes.
Paul LaRufa agrees.
If you're going to have a death penalty, then he certainly deserves it.
But says he has no interest in watching Muhammad die.
Will I attend? No, I won't be there. I don't have a need to have a day of my life taken up by that.
LaRufa's wounds have healed, and he sold his restaurant. But he kept the car.
I'm keeping it because, in a way, it's my lucky car. It's saving my life, maybe.
One lasting reminder 7 years later of a terrifying crime spree people here cannot forget. Bob Orr, CBS News, Montgomery County, Maryland.
Muhammad was executed on November 10, 2009. However, Malvo's story would continue, and on May 26, 2017, a federal judge overturned 2 of Malvo's life sentences in Virginia, but his other convictions in Virginia remained, along with his previous life sentences from Maryland. On June 21, 2018, a federal appellate court ruled that Malvo's 4 life sentences without parole in Virginia were to be vacated. This was based on the 2012 Supreme Court decision citing the 8th Amendment that it was unconstitutional for juveniles to receive mandatory life sentences without the possibility of parole. The state of Virginia appealed the decision. On March 18, 2019, the Virginia Supreme Court took up Malvo's case, and in February 2020, Malvo's sentences of life without parole in Virginia were commuted to life with the possibility of parole after the state changed the law concerning juveniles being given such sentences. However, his sentence of life without parole in Maryland was not reversed.
The victims were shot at random in parking lots, going to school, mowing the lawn, gripping the Washington area in fear in the fall of 2002. During 3 terrifying weeks, 10 people were killed. 3 more were wounded, including a 13-year-old boy. The snipers turned out to be John Allen Muhammad, a mentally disturbed man who planned to kill his ex-wife and wanted it to look like she was another random victim. He was executed 7 years later. The other was Lee Boyd Malvo, then 17, who said he was brainwashed by the older man, blindly following orders. After 2 separate trials, he was twice sentenced to life without parole. But then came a U.S. Supreme Court decision declaring life without parole sentences for juveniles unconstitutional. And just last year, the court said that ruling should apply retroactively to cases on appeal. Today, a federal judge in Virginia said because of those 2 rulings, Malvo must get new sentencing hearings.
Prosecutors could appeal this ruling, though that seems a long shot. One prosecutor says he'd likely seek a life sentence in a new hearing. Today's court decision doesn't rule that out as long as there's the possibility of parole.
As a result, Malvo was eligible for parole in 2022, but was ultimately denied. However, after filing another appeal on August 26, 2022, a Maryland appellate court ruled that Malvo must be resentenced, and on August 30, 2022, the Virginia Parole Board denied his parole. Malvo is currently in the Red Onion State Prison in Virginia, where he is serving his life sentences, and the judge noted that it, quote, may be an academic question in Mr. Malvo's case because he would first have to be granted parole in Virginia before his consecutive life sentences in Maryland even begin. Muhammad's motive for mass murder was to cover up the eventual murder of an ex-wife, to gain custody of his children while dragging a juvenile along for the ride, and to also take the fall if anything went wrong, confirming that yes, there are monsters among us. Thank you all for watching, and as usual, if you're a fan of urban legends, folklore, unsolved mysteries, cold cases, and all things mysterious, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel.